challenges of working on any 20-year-old car, this one included, is that things rarely ever go to plan. And the problem that I'm having with this thing right now is that either the fuel pump or the fuel filter is got some problem with pressure regulation. I have no idea what's going on necessarily, but one of them is not working. It's dropping pressure like it's hot. And so one of the only things I can do is I could take this kit that I got from Harbor Freight, and we can take off nut here on the fuel rail, and I can plug this thing in and give myself an idea of when the pressure's low, when it's actually coming back up again, and when it's dropping off again. So I think what we're gonna do is we're gonna go ahead and take this guy, plug it in, see if we can evaluate what's happening to the pressure in this car, make sure it's either the fuel pump or the fuel filter. You know, like anything else that you're gonna do on this car or any 20-year-old car, sometimes it's one step forward and two steps back. The problem is if it's the fuel pump, then that is really gonna mess up my schedule, unfortunately. I had a whole idea we were going to be tearing into the valley pan and whatnot, taking care of some of the coolant issues. But unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to do that until I have this fuel issue taken care of, because at some point I'm going to have to be turning this thing on and making sure that it's working, bleeding the system, things like that. And I can't do that if I know that the fuel pump's not working. So if it's the fuel pump, unfortunately, that means I'm probably going to have to send out to get a replacement for it, and hopefully that will work. We'll have to see. So let's get this thing on here and see what the fuel pressure looks like. The port for the pressure tester is on the front of the fuel rail on the passenger side, and it's just got a little nut on there that's about hand tight. Just remove that off, and then there's a little adapter that you can slide on. This one is the Ford adapter, I think is the one that came with this kit. And once that's snugged down, you can go ahead and screw on the pressure tester, and then just make sure it's all tightened down, hand tight's good enough. One of the nice things about this particular tester is it does have an overflow tube. You just got to make sure and have it pointed into something where you're not going to be spilling fuel all over the ground. And that's what it sounds like when your fuel rail has no pressure. But now we got it started up, we're up to 53 PSI, which is right about where it should be. Now I need to depressurize the system again so I can run a couple of other tests, and so we just need to pull the fuse again real quick. So, now that I've confirmed that the issue is the pressure in the fuel line, I went ahead and purchased a cheap inline one-way fuel pressure regulator that I can put downstream of the pump to see if the issue is the check valve inside the pump. Now I'm going to construct a little loop with some fuel line and install it. So it takes about 5 to 10 seconds to build up that fuel pressure again so it can start, and you can see it go right back up to 53 PSI, which is perfect. Again, that's right where we want it. I had to shut it off again quickly because I could see and hear and smell a spray from one of the connections, and so I had to shut it off and go and tighten that connection real quickly before I made an even bigger mess than I had already made. Luckily, it was pretty easy to clean up. The interesting thing is you can see that pressure slowly dropping as I'm getting over there to fix it down to about 35 PSI. And when I tighten that connection up, it holds steady. It stops dropping. So I think we've found the problem. After a bit, I started it back up and let it run for about 5 minutes, and it holds pressure just fine. So looks like we have a bad check valve in the new fuel pump, which is a bit of a drag. You know, it should be holding pressure in that fuel line and preventing fuel from draining back into the tank. And I think because the inline check valve holds pressure where I installed it, it looks like the fuel filter and the pressure regulator are okay. So I don't have to worry too much about those. So we'll give Quantum a call this afternoon and get a new pump on the way so we can get that swapped out as soon as possible. Quick coffee break if you don't mind. And then as soon as we get that fuel pump fixed, then we can get working on the coolant system. I don't want to have, like I said, learn the lesson from the fuel pump and the filter. Don't have two things not working at the same time, because then if something's still not working, you're not necessarily 100% sure what the problem is. So we'll get that fixed first. In the meantime, I do have to replace this ducting, and I did get this back from ECS, so we'll get this unboxed. Get the gasket off, get it all unbolted, and get it pulled out of there. So I guess it's time for a little bit of an unboxing. This thing's awkward. And oh, nice. This actually already has the gasket on it, that's good. Oh look, $100 wine voucher. Alright, so the reason we had to get this bad boy was because these guys have broken off and failed completely on the one on the car. Let's get the other one unbolted. You know, one of the interesting things about taking that thing off is it might actually make it easier to get the intake manifold and the CCV and everything off back here. I might have to think about that, and I might end up taking this thing off again in the future. Should I just leave it off? So after thinking about it for a bit, I think I am going to go ahead and just leave the new one off. Sorry, I stopped it in a coffee break, because it's actually going to make taking the intake manifold and the CCV and all the piping off the back of it a lot easier when I do this. In fact, it was so easy to get off, I think maybe I would add to the list of the things that you would remove when you're taking the intake manifold off. It just provides a fair bit more room back there. I mean, you can kind of still reach back in there and get around it, but it doesn't make a whole lot of sense to put it back on and do it. So like I do with everything else, I put all the parts in a baggie. I'll make sure and put that with the windshield wiper, but I do want to show you guys this. Look how bad a shape this is in. I mean, I might zoom in on it a little bit. Yeah, see if I can put a dent in the car. Just dust. But look at this thing. I mean, this is already broken. I didn't even do this. This didn't even happen when I was taking this off. It had this big old crack in it, and this piece right here just completely separated over time. It's just crazy. Whatever, this is made of a really odd plastic. I don't even know what this is. It almost feels sort of like fiberglassy or something. I'm curious and I'll have to do a little bit of research, but there's just tons of pieces that are already broken off there that had nothing to do with me just dropping it or anything else. It's just terrible. So I'm willing to bet that if you have one of these on your car, chances are it's probably in as bad a shape as this. So and it wasn't very expensive. It was like $75 to replace it. And I'm willing to bet a lot of you guys actually have that little door that's gone on here as well. So with that, I think we're going to end this video. It's going to be a little short, unfortunately. I have noticed actually over the last few weeks, we have jumped in subscribers. We're now over 125, which is awesome. I really appreciate all the nice comments that everyone said over the last couple of videos, even though there's been a little break in time. I've had some problems with the house. I've had to repair 3 burst pipes, if you can believe that or not. And unfortunately, I also have a full-time job. So until I have 500,000 subscribers on this channel, I can do this full-time. We're only going to be able to do this as we have time and as the parts are coming in. So there might be some times we have little breaks like this, but my hope is to get back on that weekly schedule. So thank you all very much for subscribing, for all my new subscribers. It's great to see you. If you haven't subscribed yet, please consider doing so, or hit a thumbs up, leave a comment, something like that, anything, just to sort of talk to you guys and see what's going on. I really appreciate it. Other than that, we will see you guys in the next episode, where we will either be working on the valley pan or the suspension. So we'll see you guys next time. Thanks.